Hang on. We are now live. And good afternoon, everybody. You are very welcome to today's webcast. And with me today is AnneMarie Ferris. And AnneMarie has put together a system under her name, the Ferris wheel. AnneMarie, you're very, very welcome. I love talking education and kids and learning and the different ways that they learn. So just a little bit about your background and how you ended up doing what you do.
Right. Well, thanks. It's lovely to be on here, Barbara. And a little bit about me. I grew up with the usual mixed bag of family life and difficulties. And I struggled emotionally and I struggled with learning. Um, and I eventually got, my background is I got to college. I was never academic, but I loved teaching. I loved working with people and children. So I got to college. I taught primary, secondary, and a little third level. But I was really drawn to children who struggled, children who, for whatever reason, whether it's academic, financial, family situation. So I kind of went on and studied for myself and for empowerment. Um, Learning difficulties, special education, counseling, hypnotherapy, NLP, timeline therapy. So I kind of brought a huge transformation in myself and then able to empower children and make an amazing difference in their lives. So that's in a nutshell why I'm here. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And we had a fascinating conversation the other day, ahead of today, about how today will work, because there are so many questions with regards to how children learn. And as we know, as adults, we all learn differently, but that's where it starts. All children learn differently.
That's right, Barbara. Look, everything starts in childhood anyway. So if you want to empower the world, we need to work with children. And every child learns differently. Every child with dyslexia learns differently. Every child with dyspraxia does it differently. ADHD, we all do it differently. So there is no one size fits all. And you might have heard the phrase a visual learner, an auditory learner. Well, visual learners are children who, when they see it, they get it, and they love reading. They gobble up the books and they hardly need a teacher. Auditory learners need to be told what to do. They need the auditory. They need to get feedback and somebody to say, well done. They love stories, listening to stories rather than reading them. But actually, the forgotten group is the kinesthetic learners. You may not have even heard of them. Have you heard of kinesthetic learners?
They have to do it to learn it. Is that it? Yeah.
They have to do it. It's the bricks, it's the hands-on people, it's the people who you've got to walk through it, you've got to do it with them and show them. And the distinction I want to tell everybody is this is not anything to do with your ability or your potential. Everyone is a genius, as Albert Einstein said. But if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live all its life believing it's stupid. And we have auditory and kinesthetic learners in a visual learning system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I left my permanent pensionable job to empower children who can't really thrive within the system.
Yeah, because I have come across it. I have 4 of my own. Now they're adults now.
Yeah.
But I know that there were times when I realized that when the teacher could read a passage, say, and she'd read it and she'd ask questions and no problem, complete understanding, able to answer the questions, thoroughly engaged. Put that same paragraph on a piece of paper and ask the child to read it and understand it. Completely different. It's kind of, but what is, a complete block.
Panic, freeze. Yeah, that's who I deal with. And that's why I developed the Ferris wheel system. I was such a backward child. You know, I was one of these children, if somebody spoke to me, I'd just go red and my brain would freeze and I'd say nothing. So I'm really able to help the children who are stuck like this. And I've developed a whole system of helping to unblock the brain, because we block off the auditory, we block off the visual. If we are sensitive children, intelligent, sensitive, they live in their kinesthetics, in their feelings. They need hugs, they need reassurance, and they're not getting that. It's a system in school which does not reward kinesthetic learners. It takes longer to learn.
Yeah.
But by
Yeah.
God, we need kinesthetic, hands-on people, the innovators, the imagination people. We need these people. And still, Barbara, they are being left behind and they're being outcast. You know, it's
Yeah.
not
And
like a few years ago where they put to the back of the class, but
oh,
they don't fit in, and they get that message just as badly as they got it in years past.
yeah, I was that child. I was telling you, I was the child in, was it second class or thereabouts? So we're back in the 70s, who was put down. It's on a blog out there. I've written about it. Who was put down the back of the class in the corner, made to sit on my own for 4 years because I had the same teacher all the way through primary, sit on my own because I was either, I don't know whether I was too inquisitive, I was too disruptive, too chatty. I was too everything,
Yeah.
you know. But
Barbara,
obviously,
you were switched on.
I was learning a different way. But I must have been the only one in the class of, there was 40 in my class at that time. I must have been the only one in the class of 40 who was learning differently to all the others, or else the others just knew how to sit still and do it the teacher's way.
Yeah, but with people like yourself, you're still very sensitive. You're a learning machine. And if we can show that child that they are a good learner, look all the things they can do. And instead of the message of you're an outcast, you're not the same as others, and we just can't cope with you, so sit on your own.
Yeah.
That's a damning life sentence. So
oh,
these
it was.
are the people, yeah.
Yeah, when you're 9 years old or thereabouts, that is hard, you know, and maybe it was because of my experience. I kind of I copped it with one of my own. Do you know what I mean? I realized, this is history repeating itself.
Your own children, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So how now for parents at home now watching this, or even for some
for
teachers, for adults out there, how can they, well, particularly at home, because we've had such a gap now from school, and there's, you know, there's still a few weeks to go, please God, before they get back. How can a parent see what type of learner maybe their child is? And they could have 3 or 4, and they'll all have different ways of learning.
Yes. Well, we all learn in all of our ways, because the learning styles, that relates to how we use our senses. You know, the sight and the sound and the talking and the touching. So we all learn in a multisensory way, but we have a preferred mode. And like anything, you know, if you go into a training and you sit in one place, you go back in the afternoon, you sit in the same place. So the brain does that. It operates in a habitual way, in a pattern, in a habit. So somebody, even though we can learn in all these ways, and that's the ideal, we just usually kind of get into a groove of our own preferred way. So if your child moves a lot, if they're always swinging their leg, if they need to move, the chances are they're a kinesthetic learner, that the physical movement switches the brain on. If the child is always reading, head in the book, chances are they prefer the visual mode. But if you've got to really reassure, if you've got to just tell the child what to do verbally, and they're wonderful orally, they're probably preferred auditory. Now, myself, I'm a singer as well, so I'm actually very much auditory. So my reading of a book will be slower than a visual person. I literally read it to myself in my head, in my voice. So that would be auditory. Kinesthetic, then they're the one word at a time. So I've developed a whole system of an approach to switch on all the areas of the brain, not just your preferred one, but the others too, so they can help out and preserve the self-esteem, right? So my system, the Ferris wheel, is learning hacks and learning for life. It's not just to pass your Friday test, you're doing your cert, you're leaving cert. It's your own self-esteem that by God, you know you can learn, and you know how you learn, and you can learn anything. And that's what I do. That's how I turn lives around. So
Yeah, and those Friday tests when you're in primary school, I'm sure there's comments coming in there now, Esther, but those Friday tests, I remember used to put the fear of God in me when they'd be coming, because I didn't know. The thing was, had I, as a child, and I can actually put myself back there, I knew them, but I didn't know if I had learned them the way the teacher wanted me to learn them. So therefore, I didn't know if, even though maybe the answer was right, I couldn't connect the way I had learned it to the way she wanted me to learn it.
Yeah. And there you've just said it. I couldn't connect.
Yeah.
And this is all what my work and what I want to do for every child and parent and teacher is show you how you can switch all the different parts of the brain on and connect them and keep them connected. Learning is a whole body activity. You can't cut yourself off. So if your emotions, your feelings, it's a state, learning is state dependent. So the best thing you can do for your children is show them how to go into what we call the learning state. And the learning state, I can tell you about it, but afterwards I've got 2 videos where I explain the learning state and I explain how to get somebody out of being stuck, that the brain is switched off, back into learning. So, I'll leave the links with you if anyone, they
Oh,
can
yes,
me
absolutely.
And I'll send you the videos.
Yeah,
Okay?
no, we will put up every link that you have, AnneMarie.
It's my joy to actually share that with these simple techniques, we can turn your life around. All right. You don't need me, but the techniques will absolutely 100% guaranteed. They can't not work because they're based on the mechanics of the brain and how it switches on and off. And it switches off in fight or flight. It switches off when we're upset.
And that's the thing, because the children now have had such a break from the mainstream, as we call it.
Classroom,
So actually, for some of them, it's going to be twice as difficult then getting back into the classroom mode.
It's like a funnel. It's like, oh my God, I have to go back in. But you know what? You're judged on a Friday. You either you pass or you don't make the grade again. And then they're hammered and they're hammered. And then because they're sensitive, we're all sensitive. And if you're sensitive and afraid, your brain will switch off next Friday and you get hammered again. So I have, people now, because they're starting to come back to school in September, August, September, they're coming back. I did very little one-to-ones, even on Zoom, because the children hadn't that extra pressure when they were at home. So we do have a lot to answer for, even though some of my best friends are committed, fabulous teachers. But I teach teachers how to teach kids.
Yeah, and I suppose they too, if they have, what was a class of 30, we don't know if it's going to still be that way, but say they had 30 children or 20-something children in front of them, is how do they divide a subject into the 3 different modes that are going to, that are going to be needed.
Really should be teaching children in all 3 modes. In the visual, which is easy because you just put it on the board. The auditory, you explain it. And the kinesthetic, you must walk through it with them. Role play, do an example, get the children. So it's not hard to do it, but it just takes time. And there's so much pressure on teachers now to, fill in the boxes themselves, that the art of teaching is under pressure. And I have good friends that I've trained and they've retired because the emphasis has gone on to written work for them instead of interaction and really, helping children to blossom. So everybody's caught a little bit as well.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, it is the child who's going to, and I use the word suffer in inverted commas because I'm just trying to think of another
Yeah.
word, but is going to lose out.
Yeah.
If it's not addressed then when they go back into school. And then of course, if the child, when they're frustrated like that, they feel then, well, if I go home, well, mommy's not going to understand me. Maybe mommy thinks that the teacher was right, and that maybe I didn't do this or I didn't do that, but I really did try. So there's no point in telling them. So they're holding on to all of
It's a
this.
vicious circle. Yeah. And when they go to learn with all that going on, there's very little of the learning of their own energy left to learn. And even at that, their confidence has gone way down. So do you see the way we have to break the cycle? So when someone comes to me, I look for what they're good at. I look for an example of how they've learned something. So recently I've had a girl who makes TikTok dance routines.
Oh,
So she's 12, right? She taught herself the moves, order and sequence, timing, picking music, putting it together, and uploading videos. So there's my example of how she's a brilliant learner. She's getting nothing but negativity back from her tests in school. Do you know? I remember I had a child once came to me, and the only thing I could find that she was good at was uh, ploughing. Her family were into vintage ploughing. She was about 11 or 10 or 11. She could plough. She could drive a tractor and plough. And I took that skill and I made it everything to show her she can learn. I mean,
yeah,
if you know anything about ploughing, you're driving a tractor forward, but you're looking behind you. So it's a
yeah.
whole lot going on. And you have to plough in a straight line.
That's right.
So,
I can assure you, and I've watched them,
yeah.
and there's no way I could because I'd have to be, and it's that thing of looking where you're
Focus.
going. But she actually can, she knows where she's going, even though she's
That's
looking
right.
behind.
These children are more gifted than usual, than plain visual learners, but they're given the message that they're less gifted. So very often they bloom later in life. But this girl, she was dismal now at learning, right? But she recently graduated with a degree in childcare. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
an
there, and it's
honor.
how to tap into it,
Yes.
and it's, I
Everybody
suppose,
can be tapped into, Barbara.
yeah, and
Everybody.
it's what can parents do now between now, say, in September, to make sure that their child is prepared to go back, that the kinesthetic child is prepared and not scared, to go back.
Yes. Well, I'll give you two little tips, all right? One is show the child how to get into the learning state. Now, the learning state is where we get the brain to produce alpha waves instead of the beta waves. And the alpha waves are relaxed, where you open up the brain, really. You open up your peripheral vision and you open the brain to become a sponge and take in loads of information. And all you need to do is pick a point slightly above eye level, look at it for a few seconds, then keep your eye on that and notice what you can see around you. So I can see myself waving my hand even though I'm not looking at it. So you actually get into peripheral vision, which is what you want to be, as you know, when you're driving a car. You don't want to be in tunnel vision like an old biddy driving a car and not aware of everything else. So you want to get into peripheral vision. So you see the child behind the car, you see the car behind you. So we need to apply the learning state to children. So when you get them in that they're looking at you, but they can see you wiggling your hand high up, low down. And then that will give them a kind of a sense of security in their nervous system, and they're switched on. The brain is switched on when we're in the learning state. Because if they go into panic, they go, oh, can't do it, can't do it. And
Yeah,
they lose their ability.
yeah,
Okay. So that's one thing. And that's one of the videos that I want to share with you, how to do that. And another thing is when we're in our kinesthetics, our eyes go down. Now, depending on if you're left or right-handed, this is why there's no one size fits all. But the eyes go down either to the left or the right, mostly to the right. Okay, so if your child, when you speak about school and going back, if you notice that their eyes are going down to one side, then they're processing a whole lot of emotions internally, right? They could be talking to themselves and feeling internally. To get them out of that stuck state, what you can do is using anything, I have a pencil here, just draw a rainbow over their head and get them to look at the rainbow. So you can sing, you know the rainbow song? Red and yellow and
Oh,
pink
yeah, the
and
colors of the
pretty.
rainbow.
You can
Yeah.
sing anything. The latest, I don't know, Katy Perry song, anything they're into will switch them on. So get them to do the rainbow. In that way, it gets the eyes looking up out of, when we're looking down, the brain is in kinesthetic mode and it's stuck inside you. So if you want to help them learn, get them up into visual mode. So children who learn visually, adults who learn visually, we've a lot of, and auditory, we've a lot of upper eye movements. You know yourself, when you're stuck feeling uncomfortable or sad,
Yeah.
where do your eyes go?
Automatically down.
And if you want to stop yourself crying, you try and look up.
In fact, and I will say this actually to the viewers, because when I was chatting to AnneMarie the other day, an emotion did get triggered and I did start kind of welling up a wee bit. And within about 2 seconds, AnneMarie had me looking up to the ceiling, doing the right and left with my eyes and trying just to bring me back out of that upset state. And it really, really did work. But something you said there, AnneMarie, when you said I'm looking to the right or the left, you know, the different sides of the brain, is that to do with, you know, the way we have kind of one side is the more creative and one side is kind of the more pragmatic? Does that relate to that?
It gets to do you to access your rational ability.
That's the word
and
I was
your
looking for.
imagination, your constructive ability. Yeah. So your inspiration side, your new creative idea side, and access to stuff you've already learned in the past. And I find so it gives them that. So you're using both sides of your brain. Also, then it switches on learning and visual and out of emotions. So yes, it does that. There's a whole lot of kind of science behind my techniques and my system, but I keep it simple.
Yeah.
It's like the KISS, keep it simple, sweetie.
Yeah.
Because we need it. If I'm going to be successful with an adult or a child, to unstick them, I need to give them little systems, little techniques that are fun and enjoyable. So when people come to me, I never give them work to do. In school, if you're struggling at work, they give you more work. How is that good?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, do you know what? When you just said that KISS there, and you used the last word of sweetie. Now, obviously, when that was started, it was
everything I say is on purpose.
Yeah, it was keep it simple, word. Stupid, and unfortunately, and even to this day, I cannot stand that word. It was the word that was used, again, I suppose, against me or to describe me, say, in primary school. And I remember, because all I actually wanted to do was learn, because I actually love learning. But stupid was the word. And to this day, I can't. And if I hear anyone use it, it makes my blood boil. Now, I'll be honest with you, it makes my blood boil.
Do you know what? And that's the extent to which school affects us. At your age, you're still carrying, now you've overcome and you function brilliantly and you've learned so much and you empower your boys. But see the weight that this whole system has left you with. A wonderfully intelligent woman who was branded stupid. I mean, I was quiet, so quiet as well. We had to teach ourselves. We're lucky. I've had adults come to me who've been in your situation, and I've had a grown man cry because it was the first time in his life he could spell a word.
Yeah, it is, and it's tapping into that power. And by the way, for those of you viewing, this wasn't a self-complimenting day from AnneMarie. It just happens to be how the conversation has evolved. And, you know, from being, and there's a lot of us out there who now are, you know, in their 50s like me, going to school in the 70s. You know, my teacher had a cane, you know, and when I got the cane, I got it on the back of my hands because I played the piano. So it was to do as much damage. There were a couple of brilliant Irish dancers, say, in my class, and they got the cane across the back of their legs. So she would have given them the cane on the back of the legs because
They were
Irish dancers, they need them. I was a pianist, I got it on the knuckles, you know, and it was different then. I mean, thankfully now parents, you know, in the main will talk to a teacher.
Yes.
And try and see what it is that needs to happen. But back then it was so different. But I can see the comments are absolutely flying in here as well on the right. Not just Friday tests in Northern Ireland, we have a transfer test to move to secondary school.
That's the 11 plus, yeah.
Yeah, standardized testing. I have to say, yeah, and I know we're in the South. I've never quite understood that standardized testing.
I've yet to meet, and I've worked with thousands of adults and children, I've yet to meet a standard person.
Do you know? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, I still remember failing my 11 plus. Look, and being classed a failure.
Where we have 11 pluses, we have standardized testing now, you know, the micro T, sigma T, all of these. And the poor teachers have to administer them. And we all, as parents, we wait to see what our child got. And yes, of course, we want to do well. And I do deal with academics and, you know, improving your grade. But I never make an apology that it's life skills. These are life skills. These are self-esteem, opening your brain up. And you know what? Everything we want in life, every exam we want to pass, we want to do it because we believe that by doing it, we'll be happy. And I've got the ability now, the skill and the tools to bring you, to show you how to go to happy first. And then we can learn anything.
Yeah.
So my dream is that nobody would ever be stuck, you know, and I want to make all of this available for everybody. And my book will be out in January. So I want it as a handbook for parents and teachers. And it's going to be called That Your Child Is Not Broken.
Yeah, and I think we went, and my apologies because I meant to put up a link. We will put up the link after this is over to sign up for when AnneMarie's book is coming out, and you can get in touch and know when it's coming. AnneMarie, like, we could chat all day about this. Absolutely. It's just, and the comments, yes, it's a very relatable conversation. You know, I know some of the commenters here. Yeah, sweetie is a good word. And it is absolutely anything.
Actually, it was I was teaching hypnotherapy training a few weeks ago, and it was one of my students who gave me that word. So I have to give her credit for that. But keep it simple, sweetie. So much nicer, isn't it? We can empower our children. We can empower ourselves. And it's never too late to have a happy childhood. So I was just, you know, it's my entire life to get these tools to people so that you can turn your life around. They're not difficult. These are easily done. These techniques, very easily done. But it's a different approach because you cannot fix a problem by the same system that gave you the problem. So this is an out of the box approach. This is fun. This is easy, and it's built-in success because we deserve it, every one of us. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And another thing that came up in our conversation the other day to anybody viewing at the moment is that it's quite possible that Well Expo will be bringing AnneMarie up to the Northwest and to do a workshop someday over the next couple of months. So if anybody is interested, I know it's just because I'm in the Northwest, but obviously go anywhere. Yeah, just let us know in the comments if you would like to see a workshop coming.
Yeah, AnneMarie's kind of mission, self-given mission in life is to empower other people. So I will go anywhere I'm invited. I will do a training seminar and I'll see children. And that's what gives me satisfaction, because I know what it's like to be stuck. And I was lucky enough to just through the various techniques to have an opportunity to develop these and to see over the years how well they work and how easy they are. So I'd be delighted to do that.
I think we'll have to have you on again sometime after school starts to see have there been any changes and any developments and updates in our school system. But AnneMarie, thank you so much. Don't forget, you can get in touch with AnneMarie on theferriswheel.org and contact her directly if you have any questions, and see where her workshops are coming up. And
folks, remember, stress is the enemy. So do anything you can to lighten your load and to, reach out if you need help, because help is there. You're not stuck.
Absolutely.
Okay?
AnneMarie, thank you so much for coming on today. I thoroughly enjoyed the chat.
Pleasure.
You're
Great.
more than
See you
welcome.
again soon.
Absolutely. And before we go, folks, what I am going to announce is we have a webinar coming up, our very first webinar coming up, yes, on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday the 29th of July? There is an Eventbrite link there for you if anybody is interested. And we are actually looking at workplace wellness. It'll feature some speakers you've already met and some that you haven't. So it's all being put together at the moment. Like everything else I do here on Well Expo, it's kind of jump in, go for it, see what happens. And yeah, so a workplace wellness webinar on Wednesday evening, the 29th of July. Please click on the link if anybody. It's free, by the way, it's free to attend. So you can log on there and put your name in if you would like to view and join in. So thank you very much again, AnneMarie. Thank you, and see you all on Thursday. Cheerio.
See you then. Bye.